All right, welcome everybody to another Cryptonairz AMA. Today we have DAO Academy with us. If you guys just want to introduce yourselves and kind of what your background is real quick.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Johnny. I'm one of the founders of DAO Academy, and I've done a lot of work in the past with different DAOs. I still currently work with several DAOs, doing like community administration and educating their localized communities, and that's part of like what we're here for.
Hello, I am Crypto Cherie. My real name is Autumn, and I'm one of the co-founders of DAO Academy. And I got into crypto about 2016, and didn't really do like a deep dive into it, but kind of superficial level, checking things out. And then about 2020, really got into crypto, started building in the space, and then me and Johnny founded DAO Academy.
I just want to know that I went last, and the Bible says I will be first in the end. So, my name is. I go by the handle Fudbear because I'm a very negative person. My real name is Josh, and I am a game developer. I work with programming mostly for game engines in general, but do animation and art. I also am a children's author, so I have kind of a background in just project development stuff. And let's see, with crypto, I think I got into crypto fairly recently, like 2019, maybe like right before COVID really started killing everybody. And so I guess I'm relatively new, aren't I?
A little bit, yeah. So I guess let's get into why you guys created DAO Academy.
Oh, and I can answer that. The main reason we created DAO Academy was because before DAO Academy was founded, we worked with like Sarcophagus and Decent DAO, building communities around the DAO structure to, because a DAO needs a community. And through that process of community building, we were constantly like, besides just the typical, moderation and admin duties that we were doing, we were also doing a lot of teaching people about concepts and whatnot, and helping people a lot. And through that, we really started to see that there was this big gap that between like the user and the builder of these Web3 products, where there's not a lot of succinct educational material in between that helps somebody get from that starting line of like they may not even know how to use MetaMask yet, to being able to integrate to a D app and sign a transaction or vote on a DAO or anything like that. So just getting people onboarded to the concept, and getting that term DAO to be less obscure and a lot more just known. And that way people, like when they see that term, it's much more familiar, and they're like, oh, it's a DAO. And they just kind of have that basic understanding of what it is.
Sure. So like with the current state of the market and how things are going, and I know that DAOs were like the big thing last year. Have you guys ever considered like tweaking your name or tweaking like what your guys' focus is?
We have, considered it. We have to consider, everything, all circumstance, at all times. So it has been discussed in the past, a name change, but we felt that even though like we didn't pick that name just for its popularity or anything. We picked it because that was what we do. We work with DAOs and we educate about DAOs. So we do want to broaden that in the future to where it's not just exclusively about DAOs, because we have worked with projects that aren't DAOs, but that is our roots, if you will. So the name still like fits us, and it was hard to move away from that without like changing what we do. And like I said, we do want to like kind of broaden what we do over time. Education in Web3 is going to be really broad. It's not just about DAOs, but we felt it was a really strong starting point for this new like social infrastructure that's coming in.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think with like knowing you guys and talking to you guys so much behind the scenes outside of like any AMA or anything like that, in our chats and stuff, like I have a pretty good grasp of what you guys are, who you guys are, and where you're going. But I think for people people just coming into the space, like if they Google DAO or something like that, like it's a really intriguing thing. And hopefully that, it kind of brings people to you guys, people that haven't been ruined by different DAOs from late last year, and early this year. So,
Yeah, and the recent document that we released, an introduction to DAOs, was really aimed more at like new people who were coming into it and unfamiliar with it. But there is, like you're talking about, there are people that have been in it before and might be soured on it. And we hope that we can bring like a fresh perspective and show people that, like, hey, even if you were a part of a DAO structure that failed in the past, that doesn't mean DAOs are bad.
Right.
Take a new look at it, and look at some DAOs that are successful and be like, well, what are they doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think not taking it at face value and kind of gearing it towards like kind of zooming out a little bit of what DAOs actually could provide if they're not a bunch of hacks and scammers and stuff like that. Like, I think they could be a very beneficial thing for different types of communities and things in the future. It's just right now, I think people have a lot of sour taste in their mouth currently, at least in my opinion, for some of the DAOs that people have been a part of.
No, and that's definitely understandable, especially with market sentiment where it's at. Fudbear, I don't know if you want to comment on that, Cherie.
I'm chomping at the bit here. Yeah, the name DAO Academy, I've always really liked it, but yeah, it's been a bone of contention that we've actually talked about pretty extensively. Not because there's anything inherently bad about the name, but because most people got into DAOs because of rebase tokens and these, insane promises of 2,589, percent a day APYs kind of a thing, and obviously that didn't work out. And
Right.
So yeah, there's a bad taste in my mouth, and I invested in a lot of that crap because I'm stupid. And
Absolutely. I think a lot of us did, honestly.
sure, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it, but I mean, no doubt there needs to be a reformatting, and so a lot of it was rebranding, hopefully, what a DAO is, and it's one of the few things in my mind that is actually very legitimate in this space. Is that it has the ability to really affect how we approach governance for a community. And the idea of on-chain voting systems and on-chain proposals and things like that, there's a power there that allows communities to take care of the things they want to take care of without interference, with minimal friction. That is just undeniable, and it has nothing to do with rebasing tokens or inflation and things like that. And hopefully, in time, we're going to do our part to try to fix that.
Right. Yeah. And I think kind of with what you just said about having community engagement in a project and kind of voting power and things like that, like I think that can help create ownership for people and help them kind of feel engaged and kind of a sense of community and things like that. And like we've been saying, this last DAO season, I think people were kind of wrecked and ruined and kind of spoiled by the super high APYs and APRs and all of the different rebasing and epochs and whatever you want to call it. I mean, all of the above. But I think if there's a restructuring of how things are done and is done properly, I think it could be a very effective community engagement thing, kind of like a GoFundMe type thing.
Yep.
And I mean,
Absolutely.
look at how successful and how much good those types of things do. I mean, if DAOs took a approach like the crowdfunding and different things like that, I think they would be a huge success.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Sorry. I was just going to echo kind of what you're saying, Scott, is like, I think DAOs are, in essence, a beautiful thing, a beautiful concept, like people being able to have a voice and to be heard. But with all the rebasing and the DAOs that have just been there, like it has been skewed. And so like we've been working on a new project that we will be discussing that we're really just trying to like reinvent DAOs and give it a new perspective and really try to get people re-engaged with it, because I know there is a sour taste in this space right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And part of that will be redirecting those incentives inward, because like a lot of these DAOs, like Josh brought up, they were all centered around making insane APYs just for having a token and staking it and stuff like that. And it takes away from the core of what a DAO is about everybody having that social, ethical structure where everyone has a say. So the idea that we've had is that we need to turn those incentives inward to the DAO, where instead of being incentivized just to hold a token or something, perhaps people should get incentives based on whether they actually are a part of the DAO, like being in the votes, doing proposals, things like that, the things that actually strengthen a DAO ecosystem. And that's something that has barely been dabbled in. There are, some projects out there that have incentivized actual governance participation, but they're few and far between, and they're not exactly anything you can like jump out at you. Like nobody's heard of it a lot. It's not a common thing.
Right. And what would you guys say is, like, how could you help out the DAO space of things, like educating people and things like that, obviously, but how could you see a DAO being a successful crypto market, I guess?
Sheree may want to go further into this too, but the interface that she was talking about does kind of address that, where it gives people a more immersive experience. And I'll let her give more of the details on this, but the experience would just be something that really pulled people in and made it feel like they're a part of it more than just, click yes on a vote or anything like that. Sheree?
Sure, yeah. So we are creating a new project right now that is called Paideia, which means learning or education in ancient Greek. And, as we've been talking, one of the things that we've noticed in the space is that education can be hard to adopt. New user comes in and they can find it boring, things like that. When people join DAOs, they may feel disconnected, especially if the already established DAO. So if they're a new user, they come in and it can be overwhelming. They don't understand how it works. They don't, what they're doing there and whatnot. We want to try to really get people re-engaged and want to vote, want to participate. And one of the ways we're going to be doing this is with our project Paideia, which is going to be basically a new layer that's going to be gamified. And we're going to be doing that through different steps. So one of it is the gameplay is going to be a large-scale strategy game where players will have to work together to stop the enemy from invading as they're trying to rebuild Paideia. Some of the things we're pulling from inspiration are such things as Darkest Dungeon, Wolf Among Us, Hollow Knight, and some of our favorite comic books. And the concept of this is that people will be able to move around troops and do proposals and stuff via the new gamified system. So Josh, do you want to go a little more in depth? I know I'm trying to give a really broad overview on a complex subject.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you were helping on that.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said earlier, like my background's in game development and art in general, like digital art. And so combining our powers together, like Captain Planet kind of a thing, we really started to recognize, or at least, maybe have tip-off kind of a thing of the problem with DAOs is adoption, as Autumn was saying earlier. And I think part of the problem with that is all this esoteric information and terms that if you don't come from that background, you're not gonna, I don't think even a normal, a normie, a muggle is going to know what a liquidity pool is, let alone how to vote properly for it, kind of a thing, and the expectations that go with that. So what we came together with was, hey, let's use my game development background, and Johnny manages DAOs, a bunch of DAOs, and really combine these things into making a video game that acts almost as a front end for a real DAO. It's all on chain and everything like that. And see if we can kind of streamline some of the process, right? To where when you have a new user come in, that they, just like a video game, right? You're going to have kind of a tutorial and a ramping up, if you will, of learning the process, learning the expectations and things like that. And it's not, it's not your conventional game, I guess, in that regards, because it is controlled by a DAO. But it does at least kind of highlight and allow entrance into adoption, kind of a thing, in a way that I don't think most front ends can, or at least become very hard. There's a lot of friction, right, in that place. So hopefully we're looking to adapt those systems to grow engagement and really, expand on Web3 technologies, kind of a thing. So,
Okay. So let's kind of switch gears real quick before we get into like what you guys are doing and upcoming things. Like how many besides the three of you, are there any other team members that you currently have or are you looking for more?
We do have currently have a couple mods as well, and we are always actively looking. We'd love people to drop into our Discord and kind of give a spiel about themselves and see if they would fit any of the positions that we have available.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to say, yeah, I'm looking for people, very much so, because development on any game, I mean, it's a huge undertaking. And while I've done many things on my own before, it's hard. It's not. It's definitely not a small scale thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we are very much looking for people of all walks of life. We're looking for writers and animators and all sorts of stuff. Anybody that feels that they have a talent that can add to the pool of things, we'd really like to get you on board. And at the very least, just come introduce yourself, tell me some of your experience, that kind of a thing. I'd make no promises, but I would like to talk with you, kind of a deal.
Sure. How so like along that game side of things, how long would you in your experience, because I know that you're a game developer outside of even crypto, like how long would you say a good solid game takes to develop?
Oh man, you're looking at years realistically. Yeah, you're looking at years. There are shortcuts you can take in certain things, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but thankfully there are a lot of tools that exist to help reduce the time for development, and so we're leveraging some of those tools. I don't have to roll a game engine. I'm actually using Unity. I've experienced with Unreal and stuff like that. I've been doing it for a long time. I think I've been using Unity, I think, since like 2009 or something like that. So, I've been in it for a while. They have a bunch of tools and assets in between that will kind of help fill the gaps to make things realistically doable, but to make something like that is actually like a good product and that's not just an asset flip. It's going to take time. It just does. It's the nature of it, and you need to flex talents. You can't just be someone and just be like, oh, I'm just going to make a game. It just doesn't work that way. You need talented people working on things to really make something that's worth someone else's time, let alone their financial situation. So
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so what would you like when you guys look at projects that you want to partner with or kind of get into, what are the security measures and things that you guys are looking for in projects to make sure that they're not scammers and things like that? I know we talked about some of this stuff behind the scenes, but just to kind of put it out there in front of the community.
go ahead, Johnny. I know. I'll just like start a riot. So go ahead.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. He was like, yeah, he's like, no,
I don't want to answer this question.
That's hilarious. Well, I'll fill the gap for the time being. When we're looking for partners, we're looking for legitimacy, honestly. We're looking for people that are going to actually dox and for people that are in space. Oh, good.
Oh, sorry, my mic for some reason just wasn't letting me talk anymore, so I had to like reset my connection with my headset. That's why I dropped out. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
No, so I'll just platform it, but then Johnny's really the one to answer this. But we're looking for legitimacy in the space, history in the space. We're looking for someone that's not coming out tomorrow with like, oh, we got this token, everybody's going to the moon, dog has coin, kind of a thing. That we are very much against that kind of stuff, and we just don't like it. And so, thankfully, we've been very privileged to work with very legitimate partners, some of the best partners in the space that crypto has to offer. And Johnny's talents have been flexed across many different aspects and really allowed for growth. So, anyways, that was just my spiel. Go ahead, Johnny.
Oh yeah, and that encapsulates a lot as far as what we look for in partners. But we have changed our direction a little bit as far as partnerships go, partly because of our structure change, redirecting our resources from the community management side and moderation and administration stuff that we've been doing to source funding. and taking our knowledge and shifting over to where we're going to start dedicating everything to education in some form, whether it's this DAO documentation or the game that'll teach people like the concepts of working together in a DAO to have outcomes. And that with that change in direction, we've started looking at partnerships differently. We still have our two original partners, Decent DAO and Sarcophagus. Sarcophagus was a massive, they taught me way more than I could ever have taught them, for sure, because they, as far as community stuff, because I helped them build their community, but they taught me basically what decentralization really meant at its core. They had an extremely strong ethos with that. And decentralization, keeping everything on chain, if it's done right, actually provides a lot of security for people, because the DAO has control over the majority of the assets and the majority of the voting power, and it's distributed slowly and properly. So there are things we look for, and we're not closed to those type of partnerships anymore. But recently, we've been branching out more into educational partners, like not looking at tokens or NFTs or anything like that, but looking at partnerships that actually promote education, because that's what we really want to do. And our most recent partner that we partnered with was a blockchain learning center. They come more from a Cardano background, and the Cardano ecosystem is transitioning into a more DAO ecosystem. They're kind of going into that phase right now where they want to become more about DAOs. So for Cardano, there's this big window opening where they need people to educate their community about like just what the basic concept of a DAO is. And that's kind of how we got together with the Blockchain Learning Center. They have an actual learning platform where you put up curriculum, it's formatted in lessons, and then people can even do quizzes. And that's how our partnership formed. Was we're using their platform actually for our new introductory to DAOs. It's hosted on there now, as well as being on chain and everywhere else that we have it, like in our Notion library. So that's one of the big differences now as far as like how we're looking at partnerships. Is we're more concerned about what our partner is doing to further the education and the actual like long-term growth of the Web3 and DAO ecosystem altogether. And something else also on the education front, just a minor note, is we actually have a newsletter as well where we highlight some really interesting DAOs that are in the space, like City DAO and several others that have been in it, that we just talk about them and kind of introduce people to these different ways of doing things and let people decide for themselves whether, you know, that specific DAO is something they're interested in. But it's not something we do for promotional purposes. We do it for the content and for like teaching people, hey, there's different types of DAOs out there.
Sure. So where, as far as that specific newsletter, where would people go to get that?
The easiest way to get it is you just go on DAO Academy, it's DAOacademy.net, and there's a little subscribe link on the main homepage. And It's a free newsletter. We're actually going to include our DAO introductory guide as like a sign-on for it. Like when you sign up, you get that for free just to keep as a PDF. And then the newsletter is free and it comes in monthly. Yeah. We're actually about to release the next edition of it here in the next day or two.
Okay. How often do they come out?
They come out monthly.
Monthly. You just said that, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, I completely missed it. Oh, boy.
Get off your phone, Scott. Get off the phone.
Wow.
He's always on Twitter.
After I said that, I was like, oh man, he just said that.
That is okay. It makes me, I do that all the time. So
well, at least I'm not the only one. So with a lot of the free content that you guys are doing, like how do you guys make any money? Is it just this is kind of like a not a paid thing, but you guys are just making money through investments, or like how does that kind of stuff set up, if you guys can talk about that?
And currently, no, actually how we make money is 100% public. Like even though currently DAO Academy is an LLC just for tax purposes, all of the income we get is all on chain. Our entire pay system, everything is done on chain. So not only is it public on the blockchain, but we also have a ledger in our Notion library of all our contracts. Every contract that we have with our partners that pay us for community administration, that's where we source our funds currently.
Okay.
Is we get awarded an amount from the 2 DAOs that we work with each month for helping them with their structure. I mean, we help them with everything you can think of as far as like building around a community, bot programming, building Discord channels, formatting, doing all sorts of like professional embeds and stuff with the bots, like a lot of administrative stuff that we do. And that's how we source our funding currently. Now we do, through, eventually we will have a token for the Academy itself, separate from Paideia that we were talking about. And we may look at some ways in the future to start sourcing funding through that, but we're not aggressively looking at that right now. For now, we're just using our administrative abilities with the DAOs we partner with and sourcing a little, just enough funds to, keep us operating and keep putting out this open source education material. And hopefully we're going to grow from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think anyone would squawk at you guys getting paid somehow to provide content. I mean, I certainly would never, but I mean, everybody, if they're providing value in some way, I think they should all get some type of revenue, income, whatever you want to call it. So I was just curious when you were talking, I just had thought about it. And so,
Well, I know my Lambo needs a tune-up, so yeah.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I still have one of the Matchbox ones that is sitting on my desk, and I'm trying to upgrade that. But
Oh yeah, I totally have. I have one of those Tesla Cybertrucks because that thing is so hideous. I love it, and it's like a little Hot Wheels on my mantle. That's my sweet ride right there.
I know. I honestly, side note, I don't know what to think about those. Like, I think Tesla is really cool, but I don't. Those trucks are hideous, man.
Oh, dude, that shit's awful looking, and I love every moment of it. I'm going to blast like some really nasty like synthwave and just cruise around my town and just really annoy people with like a leather jacket and some Ray-Bans. Dude, that'd be so cool.
And like, kind of slick your hair back like Fonzie or something.
Oh, totally. Dude. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Put a pack of cigarettes in your sleeve.
Dude, risky business right there for sure.
There you go. So since you guys have started DAO Academy, which was when did you guys start that?
It was officially like founded November last year.
Okay, that's what I was kind of thinking. So what are the things from start to now at this point? What have you guys been up to?
Well,
I know
at
we
the very
touched on a
beginning.
couple
Oh,
things.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I was just say from at the very beginning, we actually were like 100% community administration focused and working with DAOs. That was really our bread and butter in the beginning. And from the beginning, like we've worked with a couple other projects that weren't DAOs, and they just each project had its own circumstance, but most of them have faded away. And
Those that will not be named.
But like each of them had like their own circumstance or reason why they didn't make it, or they just kind of fell flat. So those partnerships were cut, of course, because the project just kind of faded away or they had problems. So we learned a lot actually through that process about basically how to self-audit projects that you're looking to work with. Like when you are interested in their token and what they're doing with that, and like what's going on in their economy and their ecosystem, we learned a lot, and actually talked to you guys and your security officer quite a bit on one of the projects in particular. And we definitely, out of that, created it really put a new shine on our way of how we look at projects when we came to them. And it was also part of our decision to get away from doing that, because we have solid partners now that are established DAOs and they're not going anywhere. We've known them for a long time, the people that were their founders and their community we worked with for a long time. So that's one of the things that's happened is in that time, working with different projects, learning different ecosystems, that really directed us towards education and to where we are now. And we started creating this material and really putting it out there. And then, of course, recently we started planning with Paideia. That was something that has actually been bubbling up for a while. We just recently got it to a point where we're willing to start talking about it, because something that we've been really big about is we want, and like if we have an idea and it's something we want to show people, like we have our own like consensus model within, if you will. We are a DAO because we talk, everything is public, and we talk to each other about everything. There's some consensus there over an idea before we ever bring it public, and we're like, okay, this is something we're working on. And Josh can speak to this, like every technical idea, like we're fleshing it out, we're looking for every little problem and really trying to, before we even talk about things, like making sure that it's something we can do and that we should do. So that's definitely something along the way that we've learned.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in development already for roughly since November. I mean, honestly, we've been, I mean, again, because of my background, I'm all about finding the pipeline. We live and die by the pipeline. And the pipeline being the software tools that you're using to build something. And something like a game has a huge pipeline. And so it's been about developing tools that are needed and or finding tools that are needed and can kind of build something out. So though we are just now talking about it, like literally this is our first time that we were publicly speaking about it. It's been in development for over 6 months, just in tooling kind of a thing.
Sure. And I think kind of going back to something that we said at the beginning, like DAOs are kind of a little shaky right now, but I think the value that you guys are adding and providing to the community, I think is so valuable and so needed that like people just getting into crypto, they have absolutely no idea where to start. They don't know if they should start with Coinbase. They don't know if they should start with, like what's a wallet, all of that kind of stuff that you guys talked about. And I think providing actual good content and like looking at your guys' pictures, those are all your guys' pictures and things like that. Like you guys are docs. Like we've been on multiple video chats with you guys, or at least I have, and like I wouldn't have any problem trusting you guys. I mean, you guys have, at least Autumn has put out her LinkedIn and stuff like that. I think you guys, Johnny and Josh, I think you guys have as well. But
yes, they're on our websites.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I think like this next bull cycle, I think, is going to be something very crucial, that people are going to look to projects and companies that are fully doxed. There's no anonymous people. There's no like, well, this developer is from Bangladesh and he could rug, but maybe not. I don't know. Like I did an AMA with someone a while ago, and they were kind of a cool thing, and then they had a developer from Bangladesh, and and sure enough, man, that dude rugged, and it's just, and everything. It was so he had trusted him. He had done a video with him, like everything, and the dude still rugged, and it just sucked for everybody involved. I mean, he got everybody refunded, I'm pretty sure. I was talking to him behind the scenes after the fact, and just checking on him, everything, because he was doing rough. But like I think this next bull cycle, I think everybody is going to be looking for companies that are going to be educational, that they're going to provide what is a MetaMask, what's the best things on Coinbase, crypto.com, all of these other silly little crypto things that are popping up, that you can trade from your phones, and just and I don't know if you're even looking at things like that, but I think just easy onboarding for people, especially older age people like baby boomers and all of that stuff. They see their grandkids, they see all these other people making money, and they want a piece of it too. And I don't blame them, but I think just helping educate that community is going to be a very big thing this next go around.
And that's something that's super important to us. We all live in the United States. We all are from the West Coast, and I want to be 100% transparent with people. Like, you're welcome to ask us personal questions, whatnot. Like, we don't feel like we have anything to hide.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, don't say that. I did not agree to that. We did not reach consensus. Just saying.
But we have been a part of those projects that I'm not going to name any. So I was going to name some, but I'm not going to name any. But we have been a part of those projects where they have devs that are in obscure places and that aren't transparent, and the community come and they ask them questions, and they just kind of like poo-poo them away and like, oh, you're just a fudder, don't you dare ask about our contract or anything like that. And it's awful, and it's awful to see people just like losing money, and then it gives the entire space a bad name.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it does. I mean, look at like what Ring did back in late last year. Like I know it brings up PTSD for everybody because I made a bunch, but I also lost a crap ton with it too. I mean, it just everybody got so spoiled by having that percentage that you were making a day, and they could have been something special, but instead he got a little greedy and he rugged everything.
That was an awful circumstance for sure. I was a part of the Ring fiasco as well and lost money on that one.
Oh yeah, we all did. We all lost on that one. Hey, all I know is I'm still getting like $10 a month with my strong node, so winning.
All of mine are gone. All of my strong are gone. So
are they?
They are. That is a very sore subject. but here nor there. So
yeah, right. Lessons learned.
So let's get into your roadmap real quick, and then we'll talk about your educational stuff. What's on the horizon for DAO Academy?
Well, immediately, and I'll let you guys, talk more about Paideia and whatnot. But immediately, aside from just getting more education stuff out there, we really are trying to nail down like what our product is and like be able to give a solid outline of things that we do that benefit the space. But I'll let Crypto Cherie talk a little more about Paideia.
Oh, sure. Our roadmap right now, like we are really trying to focus on nailing down Paideia because we are like super excited about this. Like our first step is going to be to have a game tutorial for it, so people could come in that are newer, even to MetaMask and stuff. So we're hoping to implement basically copycats of that are not on chain, and learn how to use that stuff, learn how to properly use it for DAOs or just in general. And can play the game tutorial to learn all that. And then from there, we're hoping to launch a token and an NFT system as well that will also be a part of the Paideia game. Josh, do you want to go a little more in depth on that stuff?
Yeah, I would like to acknowledge the fact that there is crypto games up the ass everywhere, and this is not that. That basically we're really trying to do something different. Every crypto game that I've ever seen or what, it's always like, oh, we got a developer from Fortnite. I have not worked for Unreal. I've never worked on Fortnite. I mean, most of the work that I've done, I never even know where it's going. It doesn't work that way. When you work in the game development circles, like you build things and you never know where they're going to go, be it tools or art assets or whatever. Like it's not. It just doesn't work that way. And I say that just to preface things that we understand that it has, like there's a taste there that may not be the best for everyone. And we're using this as a tool to kind of replace a front end, right? Of normally when you go to do like a staking game or something like that, you're going to stake your NFT and get some sort of reward on a daily basis. This is not that. And this is really something very different where, of course, there hopefully is digital assets involved and potentially, monetary incentive, but that is not what we're building here. We're not telling you this is some node or there's some like APY. There is none of that. And this is about us trying to give you a tool to engage with the DAO, learn about it, understand it, why it's fun, the community aspect of it, of building on top of each other and arguing about why or why not something is good, bringing Socratic, arguments back to things. That's really what we're trying to drive here. And so I just want to make that preface clear that we understand that there is some taste, maybe a poor taste for when you say crypto game. This is not that. This is something different, and or at least we're trying to make it something different. And we put effort and time into it. Sorry.
So let me ask you kind of a sidebar question about something that you said. You said like people that are in that space for developing games, they don't know where what they're working on goes to. Like, is that a pretty hard line that they just simply don't know, or is there times when they may work for an actual company and they're working on Call of Duty, or they're working on Fortnite, or they're working on things like I my question, I guess, is I've talked to a lot of projects that are making these stupid games for
Yeah.
their crypto projects, trying to make some kind of revenue stream that is just absolute BS. And
Yeah.
I can see through it at this point, but like, is it like when they claim that they've worked on for this company and this company and that company and they've done all these things, like, if there's never any proof in the pudding, is it pretty safe bet that they're probably full of crap?
It's
Oh,
a red flag for me personally. Josh, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I mean, it's total shit generally.
Okay.
That is not how game development works. And
Okay.
usually you're working on things that you're not even aware of what they're going to be used for, depending on how it's contracted. A lot of that is done in other countries outside of the US.
Right. And I knew that.
Yeah. So a lot of the times you're doing like an asset factory, working for like 3D, you're doing 3D art, 3D modeling, maybe in like Maya or something like that. And, you're given like, oh, this is what you make for the day. And you have a sort of creative director and they kind of guide you on what you're doing, kind of a thing.
Sure.
But it's not, especially with tooling specifically, like a lot of times you have no idea. You sign an NDA, they give you money and you make it, and that's about it generally. It doesn't always work that way. And that's why indie game development has become such a thing, is that most developers that we don't like that. It's not fun for us. And we want to make stuff that we're passionate about, we're excited. And so, there's kind of a dichotomy there that when someone comes out with a crypto game, we're like, oh, we have all these developers for Fortnite. I could tell you right now that Unreal would never allow that to be known, let alone like talked about.
Interesting. That's really good information, honestly. Like, I've talked to, honestly, a crap ton of people that claim to be from this project and work on this project, or they have these developers from this type of game and things like that. And so that's, honestly, that's good information.
Well, and that's the inherent problem with anonymity within the crypto space that I frankly have never understood. I don't know how people are willing to give a boatload of money to just some rando over the internet, without any kind of proof outside of, they put a little sticker on there that said Certec audit, kind of a thing. That's yeah, that's just not the way the real world works, right?
Because it's fake internet money, it's not real.
True, that's true. Yeah, all my monkey JPEGs are just printing.
Right, right. So let's get into the educational side, like classes. Like, you guys are launching an educational side. Let's get into that and go from there.
Go ahead.
They've covered the Paideia part of it pretty well, and that's going to be like a big part because it'll be just giving people a more relatable way to understand how DAOs work and the voting mechanism. But on the educational side, we just in the last month dropped that introduction to DAOs that I was talking about. And we got it up on the VLC learning platform. That's been pretty exciting for us. So next would be the class that we're holding on the 1st. And I think it's at 1 p.m. PST. I need to double check that. But on the 1st, I'm holding a class in Discord, just doing a lecture, basically breaking down the guide that we wrote and putting it in a little bit more bite-sized pieces and just making a presentation out of it so it's visual. So if people want to listen to it, they can, and just kind of almost like book on tape type thing if they just want to listen in. And what's really going to come out of that for us is people who attend that class, the questions that they field at us are going to be the biggest tell of how well we've done with this educational document. Because if nobody has any questions, that's not necessarily a good sign, because it might mean they didn't understand the information. If there are a few questions, that's probably the best sign. And you take those questions, dissect them, and go, okay, this person asked me for this specific information. Is that something that should be in this guide now? Is that an area we should be covering because that question was asked? So that's a lot of the R&D that we're going to be doing with this education material, is actually like taking the real feedback from people, the questions that are asked, and using that to edit and create the next iterations. This document that I'm talking about, the first one that we released on the intro to DAOs, it's already in its third iteration, and it's been just small edits, little things here and there, making wording sound just a little bit better so it's easier for people to digest. And that's going to be our fielded target for, as far as education documentation and getting that stuff out there, is we're going to focus on the building block number one, the base layer of getting people from Web 2 to Web 3. And then once we've got that base layer of documents and education material out there, then we'll start really diving and branching into the subjects. And this is one area where we really want to open the door to other people who want to be a part of this education too, who want to produce their own documents and then bounce it off of us. Like, we really do want to, like, if somebody came in and was like, hey, you know, I write on Medium a lot, and I know a lot about DeFi in this particular sector over here, and I would love to work with you guys and, you know, create some education material around that. That's exactly what we're looking for. That's what we're hoping for. And aside from Paideia, we have discussed trying to build our own DAO incentive system, where if somebody like that comes in as an atomic contributor, they can submit their document as a proposal for everyone to view and edit. And then once it's all edited and something that fits in with the rest of the curriculum, then it gets approved by a vote of everyone in the DAO. So, and this is something that we're like fleshing out right now, and it would be for DAO Academy's own governance, if you will, and promotion of education, because it would give us a system where we could award governance power to people for them producing this education material. So people who got awarded the token from the DAO would then be able to use that token to vote. So by putting up education material, they become part of the voting consensus that approves more education material, and so on and so forth. So it's something that we're like thinking over and working on, because we do, for these normal documents like this, PDFs, you know, stuff stored on Arweave that we do, stuff in the Notion documentation, we do want a separate system for some of that stuff that is just more black and white documentation, you know, the Web3 for Dummies type stuff. And then Paideia is going to cover us on that whole gamification and really giving people that user experience for those who don't like to just sit and read a book. Like, there's a lot of people who want to play a game and get taught that way. I played a lot of games as a kid on my Windows 98 computer learning math. So, right. So, I mean, we're trying to cover both sides of it and create systems that incentivize the interaction of people, no matter how they interact with a DAO.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to add that, yeah, without new user adoption, Web 3, Web 5, whatever the hell you call it anymore, it will die. It's going to die. It needs new blood. It needs new innovation in the space. And so our focus is getting that, is trying to get people in the door, because there's some really talented people out there that would enjoy working on this stuff, but it's so esoteric in nature that it's hard to get through that door. And actually, sorry to cut little things here, Scott, we really like, it ties into the education. So of your question, would it be okay if we just talked about our game just for a short snippet?
Yeah, sure.
Just because you guys are the first to hear about it. And to be clear, we're not asking for money. We're not talking about APYs or EBS tokens. Yeah, this is just, we're excited about it as a learning tool. And so if that's okay, just like,
yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Cool. Go Sheree.
Okay. So as he was saying, like, this game, we are all gamers, like all of us here. So we're all avid gamers. I played World of Warcraft and vanilla. I know Fudbear's played a long time too. But yes, yeah, total nerds. So our most important thing before we really were ever into crypto is games, and to make a good story and create a good game. And so that is where we're going to be driven, not by money like most of these other projects are. So that's going to be something that's going to be a little different about Paideia. But just to kind of give you an overall feel of how all this is going to work. So the theme is going to be underwater Greek inspired. So kind of similar to DAO Academy, but the art style is going to be different. Right now, the story is going to be that the gods have learned that being overrulers of the denizens of the sea isn't in the best interest for everyone. So they make the caretakers that are called Petra, which is ancient Greek for stone. So they are going to be Greek statue, rock statue, golem kind of things. We're hoping that these are going to end up being the NFTs that will be people can use as PFPs and whatnot. So they're going to be the caretakers of Paideia while the gods disappear into the void. There'll be 2 villains that are going to be sea monsters from Greek lore that will be coming and destroying Paideia. And the Petra will be put to sleep by one of the gods before they basically slip away into the void and to be reawoken later. The Petra will wake up later, and that is where our game is basically going to start off at, is that the Petra will be waking up and they're going to be rebuilding Paideia. So as I said, we will be creating hopefully the Petra into an NFT line is what we're hoping for. These NFTs will have the ability to be staked. We'll be able to acquire resources stuff through staking means. So this could be anything from kelp to whale bones to sandstone. We've been kind of throwing around different ideas. And you will be using these materials to upgrade buildings, weapons, armor, and whatnot. Also, we've been talking about staking possibilities of collecting small amounts of the token as well. We're still working on the tokenomics. They haven't been completely fleshed out yet. So, but there will be a token. It'll be a governance token and in-game currency. We will be implementing a merchant where you can buy cosmetics, upgrades, and special NFTs for your Petra. And then another thing we'll be implementing is a reputation system. So we really want to reward people who are active in a DAO. So if you are a contributor, you are doing proposals, you are voting, we want to feel like you matter, you mean something, like it's a good thing to work with everybody and do this. So we're hoping to integrate a reputation system. By the more you do these actions, you'll be getting rewards for it, hopefully through this merchant for higher tier rewards and whatnot. Let me see. I'm trying to think if I'm thinking of anything else. The overlay of the game is just, like I said before, a large scale strategy game. So we really want people to try to work together and have cooperation. And then we also are talking about that there will be consequences or punishments for various situations, like if a vote fails, or maybe you lose the ownership of a resource point, because while all this is going on, there's going to be enemies and whatnot that will be attacking you and attacking your resources, possibly attacking Paideia itself. So you're going to have that combat aspects as well.
So, I should mention it's very 4X. Like, so if you ever played a game like Civ, maybe, or like what is Masters of Orion kind of a thing. So it's basically, instead of you just as a player, like controlling those units and building things, everything is done through a proposal and voting system. And so the game really is you convincing your community through proposals and through the history of the things that you've done, that this is a good decision to make for the health of the game. And they have real world effects on the economy and or units that have been made and lost and that kind of a thing. And so it really is to give weight to the idea that when you go into a DAO, like there are consequences to things, right? Like if you are going to vote for something to add to a liquidity pool or to get rid of like a CFO or something like that, those are weighty consequences. And so having a safe environment to play those things out where the stakes are much lower than getting somebody fired, it just allows for a place to practice those things and to play with them and hopefully have some fun. I mean, you always hear stories of like EVE Online or whatever, where all these, like a guild will fight another guild and they get a spy in there and it gets like really in depth, super cool stuff. DAOs are a natural extension of that. And we'd like to basically be as far as I know, be the first to make a game that is based on a DAO, and no player just can directly go in there and control anything. It all has to be done through consensus. And mechanically that will totally work. And we already have working demos of these things. And so we actually have a document to share. I don't know where you could share that stuff. We have some art samples and kind of just a brief overview that we'd like to share with your community if it's okay. I only put 2 viruses in it, so it should be really chill.
Perfect. I'll make sure I send this to everybody.
Right. Yeah, so if you're interested in the thing, take a look. I really like Darkest Dungeons, one of my favorite recent, relatively recent. I'm 1 million years old, so it's one of my favorite recent indie games. I really respect those guys. Like I said earlier, I'm a children's author, and I really consider myself more of an illustrator than an author, and so my art kind of comes out through all of that stuff. And so I would like your feedback on it. If you guys think it's interesting, if you feel like this is something that you'd like to add momentum to, We'd really like to hear your opinions and just come get involved in it. Help me shape this thing as we go forward and help. Cherie is really the head of like community stuff because I'm an introvert and just want to hide in a basement all day. But she will, reach out, talk. Like we're very approachable people. We're the kind of people that hopefully you can just chill and have a beer with. So we would like you to like your voice, I guess, for lack of a better term.
So if you want,
Speaking of chilling, do we hadn't picked like a direct time, but after this AMA, we're thinking we're all going to go jump in a Twitter space, probably on the DAO Academy profile, and just give people a chance if they want to talk to us, field other questions, feel us out on positions, be an atomic contributor, any of these things that people might want to talk about, give them some time to talk, or just come and have a beer, chill with us, have a chat. So
sure, okay.
And one last little closing thing that I'd like to say that we are hoping to implement, it's kind of a dream of ours, is that if something like this, people see it and they like it, and other DAOs see it and like it, that they might want to implement it into their system as well. So that is something that we're hopefully kind of a dream, a goal to go towards, and then hopefully eventually creating a DAO metaverse would be amazing. So.
Yeah, everything is a front end kind of a thing. Like right now, everything's done.
Go.
Yeah, like front end, like your just static websites. We would like a game layer, basically, just another layer for people to interact with things. If you
sure. Something that I've talked to a few projects about, I don't think any of them have done it yet, but they're talking about it, is especially with the educational thing. And if you guys do end up having multiple tokens for different things and governance and all that stuff, like easily onboarding people to be able to buy those specific tokens, like whether there is a section on your website to be able to purchase those where they don't necessarily have to have a wallet, like a MetaMask wallet, or keeping it on a ledger, because like what we were talking about earlier about with old people, or older people, I'll say, they're never going to have a ledger. They're never going to have a tracer. They're never going to have that stuff. They don't care about it. They don't want to learn it, all of that kind of stuff, but they want to kind of dabble in it. If there was a spot where they could easily pay for something through maybe a debit card, credit card, or something like that, you might be able to get more eyes on yourself.
So we actually we were in contact with some people at ETH Portland. We went to, it's like a developer conference, and there was a project there called, what was it, like On Track or something like that. And they're basically sure. So there were thank you. They are creating a platform to use like debit cards and stuff to transfer over. We're so like we're not ready for tokenomics yet, and like the whole like where do we make money kind of a thing.
Right.
But yeah, we're hoping to implement systems like that as we go in, because it's all about adoption, and so it should be as easy as possible to onboard new users. Sorry, Johnny, I cut you off.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to add to what he said, that with Paideia being a game front end, we don't really want to make it about, growing a big treasury. It's about teaching people. So we will try to create definitely those on-ramps for people, because it's about teaching. And we'll probably, like he said, try to work with other projects, like Transact is an example of one that has their own onboarding and they have an SDK. So instead of internalizing those, we can outsource to other groups that can help us with that. And in that way, kind of grow each other's communities as well and network. The other thing I wanted to mention with the multiple token, we don't necessarily want to have multiple tokens. It just seems like that is eventually how it's going to work, because Paideia will be its own thing and have its own token. And then for the Academy and governance that it would have, there would be no buying and selling of that token from us. It would be something that is strictly very strictly governance related. If there ever was liquidity behind it, it would be because somebody had a bunch and they wanted to create a pool.
Sure.
Eventually that idea might change. But we want the Academy itself's token to be strictly like a voting power thing, because that's what it's about anyway, is voting on education and whatnot. And it's not really meant to be like an economy or an income engine, if you will. So not saying it won't ever create income of some sort, just saying it's not the goal of it, if you will. It's more about the voting and the education.
Sure. Okay. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about currently that you guys would like to say before we sign off?
Oh, I got tons to say. But I'll go back.
I take that back. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, thank you for having us up here. I really appreciate it. We all love coming and talking to you guys. Like you said, we've talked a lot in the past, and it's really great to get on stage with you and actually be able to converse about some of the stuff that we're working on and DAO concepts in education. So really appreciate the podium and letting us chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you. Very much appreciated, Scott, you taking the time out of your day to talk with us. And please, if anyone feels free to, we're going to do a Twitter space later, hopefully just kind of really, really laid back. So just chit chat about random topics, nothing probably particular. But if any of you would like to join, you are very much welcome to. And if you, what's that?
What time are you guys going to do that?
I think we're thinking around 6 o'clock our time, so PST.
So about 2 hours from now.
Yeah. So, and then of course, like feel free, if any of you are interested in more like keeping track of DAO Academy or Paideia, feel free to join our Discord, our DAO Academy Discord. I don't know if there's any way you can drop a link for that or not, Scott, in chats and whatnot. But if you guys just kind of want to keep tabs on things and see how progression goes and see if there's something you're interested in, or if you want to try out the game tutorial when we finally launch that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it my turn? Am I allowed to say something?
It is your turn.
I'll be succinct, I promise. Scott, first off, thank you. I really love what you guys are building here. I really actually, I know probably not gets a lot of spotlight. Your security officer is amazing. Dude seriously knows his stuff, and we were super impressed with him, and I just love him. I'm a big fan. I think that basically what I want, just this last moment, the technicals matter, right? The technicals matter in crypto. It's all based on technology. And so it's important to ask the questions when you're looking to put down money in an investment, to ask the technical questions, because you can save yourself a lot of money and a lot of time and effort by asking those technical questions and getting more into the specific information behind it. And hopefully what we're trying to do is create a project that is based on these fundamentals of that. Yeah, everybody wants to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. We live in a capitalistic system, and that's fine. But human greed within crypto, in my opinion, I'm just speaking for myself here, right? It's way out of control. It's rampant and it's awful, and I really dislike it. And we're hoping to try to create a project and more projects in the future that are based on sound fundamental tech, essentially, and a good pipeline and solid reasons for why someone should be actually giving us money in the first place. And so, I would implore your listeners and just everyone, just come talk to us, come see what we're about. And we want to broaden our community, and we're just really grateful that you included us in all of this. You guys have built something amazing here. So cheers.
Yeah, appreciate it. Absolutely. Yeah, well, I really appreciate you guys coming in, and we'll get everything rendered and send over to you, and you can post it wherever. So alrighty, well, you guys have a good one, and if I'm around in a couple hours, then I'll join you guys in your Twitter spaces here in a couple hours here. So
All right. Thank you.
alrighty, you guys have a good night. Appreciate your time.
You too.
Bye.
Brother, thank you.
Yep, see ya.
Peace.